to rock and roll as we're going straight into the first match rather of the semifinals here. This is Gwent Open #1, Season 3. I am Flake, joined by the immense IQ and roping abilities of my co-caster Shinmiri, and it's off to the races right away as ForeverYOLO bringing in the Arrakis Swarm on blue coin, and TailBot is doing some hand cleaning there and just removing some of the clutter as Blaze of Glory.
Yes, and TailBot should be pretty happy about finding this matchup. I think this is one of Arrakis Swarm's biggest weaknesses, worst matchups against Skellige. Skellige just having non-stop pings with Brockfar Hunter, Herkia, as we see in TailBot's hand right now, as well as cards like War of Clans, and many ways to get these warriors, these cheap bronze warriors back. Onkrite Marauders, another one that is super good against this Arrakis Swarm lineup.
On blue coin here, you do have quick options to just go ahead and develop. ForeverYOLO can just go ahead, dropping the Endrega larvae, already going with the tunes there, my man. When it comes to ForeverYOLO and the confidence factor, his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, but he's got an Endrega on the board, Mom Spaghetti, so it's ready to go here. There's really nothing to worry about, as the board development process for ForeverYOLO seems pretty straightforward, and TailBot now has just got to sort of start getting his own engine rocking and rolling.
I really like the opening play by ForeverYOLO, just dropping the Endrega eggs without necessarily having a way to consume it. He does have the Oniromancy if he wants to pull out something like an Endrega Warrior, but just putting it on the only unit on the board gives TailBot an opportunity to kill it for him, and then maybe he can use his Oniromancy for something a little bit more valuable. Skellige known for having like a lot of damage, so if TailBot wanted to raiding fleet that, for example, it would eventually die, spawning the drones. Or if he played something like, it's also like blocking for Marauder, so that Marauder has a chance to miss these Endrega, these drones, actually, I should say, these Arrakis drones later on.
Right, the eggs are really cool because it's one of those cards that, should it get damaged or should it get dealt with, it's really the value comes with the bodies that it's going to spawn later on. It's a safe package to just drop on the board early that really is just going to dodge everything but a lock, frankly. And if that thing wants to eat a lock, well, it eats a lock. It's not a big deal. It's still a good target for spontaneous evolution. It can still be eaten if necessary with the Endrega Warrior spawning a bonus drone. So there's not really that many issues here. But TailBot has already established double boats here. And a lot of the cards that he's going to play are not necessarily deploy on the board bodies. They're just going to be spawned. So those boats will not get as much reach as you may think. It's still cool to have them. It's still going to get you some value with it. But again, it's with cards, Shinmiri, like the Nest, you have the Bone Talisman, Spontaneous Evolution, Natural Selection. Just a lot of these cards are just going to dodge the damage from those two boats.
There's only 3 units in ForeverYOLO's hand that he could possibly play in this round. I don't even think he'll play all 3 of them. So these boats are not really high priority targets for ForeverYOLO to deal with. I think he's going to save his lock and his natural selection for cards like this Brockfar Hunter that can actually take out some of his swarm.
It seems just that natural selection was just designed to kill Brockfar Hunters in the back row, especially for a list like Arrakis Swarm. Those Brockfar Hunters will eventually, throw a wrench in your plans there, as every organic that is played, the Arrakis Swarm list will spawn a dude. You just get a little extra help there. And again, dodging the pings from those 2 Onkrite longships.
Yeah, TailBot is the one that's more flexible here. From red coin, he can kind of opt to lose this round. He has enough swarm control that he doesn't necessarily have to win this round, in my opinion. And he's committing cards now, like the Onkrite Great Sword, which isn't too big of a deal. He wants it in the graveyard maybe to set up the Hjalmar for later, to have a little bit extra reach. I'm a little bit surprised to see this lock here. I don't think this Great Sword was that threatening.
I don't think that the Great Sword was necessarily a play where TailBot was saying, okay, I can't wait for this to get up to 10. I think it was just a card to play on the board to sort of, again, continue to test the waters and maybe see, how Forever YOLO responds, because I don't think TailBot is necessarily too committed to this round, like you mentioned. There's still a lot of cards that exist in his hand that can go ahead and just quell some of the swarm effects that Forever YOLO is looking to create there, such as Herkia, such as the War of Clans back into the Brockvar Hunter, perhaps to go ahead and kill a few drones. So those are what's really valuable to TailBot, frankly.
So YOLO used one of his locks in this round against the Greatsword, so he might have a little bit less control going forward, but he did manage. The good news is that he did manage to preserve a lot of his swarming abilities, like cards like Arrakis Nest, like Spontaneous Evolution. The only swarm he spent in round 1 was Crimson Curse, which is not really a swarm card, and a 1 copy of Endriga Eggs, which is not exactly the fastest swarming card either. So he still has a lot of ways to swarm, which is good, which is necessary against this Skellige deck that has so much AoE control.
Yeah, and he's still on Oneromancy Prime, so he hasn't wheeled that card around yet, so he'll have it twice. Another free and clear card that he could play, dropping the 1 charge of the drone so that Spontaneous Evolution can just go ahead and, like you mentioned, just continue to swarm the board. And this is where it gets scary, because you need to start committing some pieces here to just go ahead and shut a little bit of this down. This might be a situation where War of Clans comes in and kills one of the drones into the Brockvar Hunter to kill another drone, and that's starting the process. But you know, your Forever YOLO hasn't crossed into the 6-card territory. He's still safe here. This isn't necessarily a bleed indicator. This is just a I'm going to play some cards indicator. So TailBot can still kind of slow play, but opting instead here, let's just play it safe. Let's get this going. I don't want this to get out of control. We're going to go ahead, War of Clans, destroy one of the drones. Brockvar Hunter goes back, probably killing another drone on the front row, which makes that behemoth a little less powerful.
Exactly, but Forever YOLO doesn't miss a beat and just plays that second Spontaneous Evolution, puts 4 more drones back on the board. TailBot removes 2, YOLO puts 4 more out there. So still slowly but surely building up his swarm. Herkia, what's she gonna ping? She does get a drone. Very good ping for TailBot. He's loving to see that, and Forever YOLO filling up his row a little bit here. Gets the Behemoth going. The board, it's the same story. 1 dies, 3 more pop up in this place. It's like a Hydra.
Exactly. I think I saw this in Disney's Hercules, and it was a great movie, by the way. I had the biggest crush on Megara. That was like my young childhood crush, was that cartoon. So there's Herkia, and TailBot, there was perhaps a line of play, and there was a plane of existence, friends, where maybe you go ahead and use the order to try to clear up some of those other drones on the front row. But Forever YOLO is really not slowing down here. It's full throttle. We're going to go ahead and use another leader charge, maximize the behemoth value. The Brockvar Hunter cleans up in the back row, and now, unfortunately for that Herkia, she's not cleaning anything up. She's still doing damage. It's still a valuable card. But Forever YOLO's next couple plays could be huge. You'll have the Chimera, which is going to do a lot of damage, and then you just have the free wheel on the Oneromancy.
Yeah, the Oneromancer is probably going to be like a Yen, I would think, right? A Yennefer of Vangerberg. When YOLO feels like he has enough of a unit swarm lead, the Yennefer of Vangerberg will get him 2 extra points for every extra body he has over TailBot's board. And right now, he's got 6 more units than TailBot. With the leader, if he decides to fully commit it, he could have 9 more units than TailBot, which would be like a 20-point Yennefer play. He could also wait to see what he gets from Triss. He could get another swarm card from Triss, potentially.
Yeah, if he does want to go roll the dice on Triss to go ahead and put some more cards on the board, he might have to drop a drone in case he gets a Spontaneous Evolution, like he does right now. There we go. So he found it, which is great, because if Triss showed up without a drone to drop the Spontaneous Evolution on, it would have been a really ugly play to make. But there it is. The board is really looking full here. There's 2 spots left. One of those you would suspect is for a Yennefer, I suppose. I think that Forever YOLO is basically just said, I'm going all in here. The chips are down. Let's do it. Before we even get to the turn in the river, I want to make sure that I have the command here. You just want to bully him. But the problem I feel, Shinmiri, here is that TailBot is going to have a little bit of trouble to maintain a 2 Bloodthirst 2 in this case. Really, there's only 2 units on the board that can even sustain any type of damage without dying.
Oh, and the Herkia only kills 1 drone in the back row there. TailBot utilizing the order to try to set up, and Okay, here we go. TailBot is doing exactly what you're talking about. Seeing that it's very difficult to get Bloodthirst 2, so he has it now, and he's going to go for the ice now. He knows that big plays are coming. He needs some tempo to catch up. The rope is dwindling. The rope is dwindling. I don't know how much time he has to execute his game plan here. He needs to discard a card and still Blaze of Glory a leader. There is a little bit of delay between, when we see the rope and when the player actually sees the rope. So he does get rid of that Berserker.
Did he do it? He did. Okay.
Yeah, he got it. Everything came out.
An absolute magician. We don't know what happened there. Time and space just melded together, and sometimes when it gets a little tricky like that, the fact that TailBot has such a nice aerodynamic coif of his hair, you can just cut through it and just go at extra high speeds of APMs there, and gets it done. That was exciting for us, Shinmiri, because the rope burned out like 10 minutes ago, and I mean, I know that you kind of live on that edge, but that gives me the most severe cases of gameplay PTSD is seeing that thing burn down like that.
And now, I think that was a great time for TailBot to go for that combination, because one turn later, the Yennefer would have boosted all of the units, and it would have been much harder for him to get that Bloodthirst 2, to get that extra discard activation on Iced. And now look, there's not that big of a difference between the number of bodies anymore. TailBot has all of a sudden 7 bodies on his board from that play.
Oh, you played one, you removed another from your opponent, right, with the Blood Eagle. Ice comes down, just drops the Berserker, and Yuta comes out. That's a lot of body development, like you mentioned.
I think that was like a swing of 6 bodies in one turn.
Which is great, and that's what you want to do, and TailBot really picked his spot perfectly there while the Bloodthirst was on the board, sensing that perhaps ForeverYOLO was going to come and follow through with the Yennefer. In this case, that doesn't look as valuable a play, and the problem for ForeverYOLO now is that he's basically, all of the drones are out of the hive in this case, and they're all on the board, so we're going to see how this kind of plays out. We're going to drop a Janky that really does nothing. It's just a lock, but it's 7 points. It's a pretty big deal.
It's enough to keep TailBot ahead here with card advantage. Both players have used up their leader abilities. ForeverYOLO is actually quite committed to this round. With no leader charges left, it's going to be very difficult for him to actually establish a swarm board in round 3. So he might have to think about just going like double Bone Talisman here in this round and not playing the Yennefer. Yennefer looking worse and worse as the round goes on.
Wondering where you're valuing that heat wave. Is it just is it this round that you want to play it? What do you
I think so.
With the next round? I think
you have the 12-point target right now. I think you're not going to get better than that. So I think you probably just play it in this round and try to trade it for something valuable, hoping for like at least a Morkvarg, if not a Herald. But I don't really foresee TailBot having to play Herald here in this round. I don't think it's going to get forced out.
There is still a Herald in TailBot's hand, like you mentioned, and that used to be good enough for a short round 3 for Skellige. That's what they relied on, and I know that Iced is a big play, but TailBot here is just, I don't know if they're throwing caution to the wind, but pouncing on a really great opportunity to move ahead there. A lot of players will typically just overvalue the Iced into Yuta combo and just kind of are married to the fact that it has to be a last say kind of a play that you make, but it can be done. But this is a lot. That's a lot to commit here.
That is a really big commitment. I didn't think that was necessary. He only played the Herald for 9 points.
Like, where are you playing that Morkvarg that now is not the best? I think that's a 13-point Morkvarg on the 8-point drone in the melee row all the way to the left. I'm curious if TailBot really is fearing that there's, I mean, the cards in ForeverYOLO's hand are great. I don't know if you can really ask for more right now.
They are really good. Like, if he gets a second Bone Talisman, that is worth 13 points, and the Heat Wave's worth 12. So he could have 25 more points. What's he gonna go for here? He's gonna go for Wispus for more Swarm? No, for Parasite to kill the Greatsword, to make sure that the Greatsword isn't gonna be able to grow to 10 from future pings. And it gets another body. It gets another 2 bodies for him with the Wispus body as well as the drone, but there's no more swarm payoff anymore once that Neuromancy is used up.
The other thing of note there was that the resurrection on the greatsword means that it comes back doomed. It is no longer a plaything for Hjalmar to throw at the opponent here. So the good news, I guess, in that case is that there's really not a whole lot that goes super tall on ForeverYOLO's side. So TailBot here, you're hanging on to that Morkvarg. I would have suspected that the Morkvarg would have come up before the Herald. I feel like Herald is something that you'd maybe want to hang on to late game. But TailBot may just know that maybe ForeverYOLO is just not going to relent, and you want to start establishing those cards before they become problematic. But in this case, I think it's just a very easy play here. You can just go ahead and play the Hjalmar, chuck a body into.
He doesn't have a big enough unit in the graveyard. He only has 4s. Didn't really establish his graveyard very much.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Okay, I thought that there might have been something of 5 or 6 just floating around. In that case, no. So you're dropping in with the Morkvarg, and you're left with a Hjalmar. The good news now is the Hjalmar might have a 6-point body or a 7-point body even to go ahead and throw. The question is will ForeverYOLO even have anything on the board that can establish itself that tall?
That's not what you want to see as YOLO. Maxi too late in round 3. Okay, that is some swarm, and maybe you get a Yen. Okay, Bone Talisman, I mean...
You'll have 10 bodies on the board.
10 bodies if TailBot doesn't remove anything, but Skellige is definitely going to be removing some stuff. And ForeverYOLO recognizes that, knows that his hand is not good enough, so just goes with the forfeit. Gives up game number 1, but that was the expected result, I would say, of that matchup. So gets that bad matchup out of the way, move on to the next game, and try to recollect yourself.
Well, even though TailBot did expend a lot of his bigger gold cards, things like Iced and Herald all showed up in round 2. You and I were a little bit perplexed. The fact that Herald came out sooner than we may have expected, ultimately it paid off. It got TailBot the round 2 there. The problem is if you're ForeverYOLO with you do not have your leader charges anymore. Yeah, you have some swarm potential, but there's, again, like you said, there's no payoff. Bone Talisman, you have double. Basically, you're going into round 3, down a card, and your ceiling is 20 points. It's easy math. Double nest into Bone Talisman, assuming everything lives, seems good. But I think that ForeverYOLO knows that his bronze package versus a third round Skellige bronze package was going to be a nightmare. And I believe that there was still the first wheel, the second wheel of Blood Eagle was still available, right, Shinmiri?
Yes,
think that there was still. So that's going to always find a target against your drones. You're in for a terrible, terrible time, even if it was just bronze on bronze there in round 3.
Yeah, and there was still an Ancry Marauder that TailBot could have pulled from that Blood Eagle, clean up a bunch of bodies. I think that's basically what TailBot was thinking when he committed Herald in round 2. He was like, okay, with all his leader charges gone, the only chance I have of losing is if somehow he has the nuts in round 2, and I end up slow playing it, and then I get caught by losing a lot of value trying to save my Herald for round 3. So maybe just throw it, and if I survive this round, I should be in such a dominant position with all of his swarm capabilities gone in a short round 3.
Well, ForeverYOLO now is going to be on red coin here going forward, and still has access to all of his weapons, whereas TailBot has gone through with his Blaze of Glory list. Now, the imprisonment list is off the menu, so TailBot can respond here on blue coin with Lined Pockets or Arachis Swarm. Both of those can function fairly decently. I would suspect that Arachis Swarm is what we're going to go with, and I guess I'm right here in this case, but it's going to be a Nilfgaard versus a Arachis Swarm type of list. Lots of spies, lots of space that's going to be taken up here. I suspect, Shinmiri, that TailBot's going to have to be very, very careful about how he uses every single one of those 18 board spaces.
Yes, indeed. And TailBot is probably going to not want to go to a long round 3. He's going to want to win round 1 and push round 2 so that he can have the option of passing when his board fills up. And I just want to say, ForeverYOLO is just jamming out over there. Look at him. You couldn't tell that he lost game number 1.
No, I mean,
like, so happy, enjoying himself.
He's nervous, but on the surface, he looks calm and ready, to drop cards. But I think he keeps on forgetting, what he wrote down in terms of his strategy against TailBot. He's down 1-0 in this case, but you saw it. The crowd goes so loud, and and you hear him singing. He opens his mouth.
He's hoping now.
Yeah, he's hoping now. He's before you saw it, he's choking, but he's hoping now. And the clock runs out. Time's up. Over. Blow. And that's going to be the last Eminem reference I make in this broadcast. I am done. I am spent. It's over.
I mean, I can't even hear the music that he's listening to, but I find myself kind of like bobbing my head along with him. It's infectious.
Well, you know what? Everyone has to. You have to have a song in your heart, Shinmiri, and that's in this case. Apparently, he's got a song in his apartment, but he's jamming out, and we like it. And I want to just toss out a shout out to Bane, who dropped in with a pretty wicked meme. I will say that 90% of the memes that are generated are so-so, but Bane came out with a pure banger, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's pretty damn awesome.
All right. Well, while we were busy rapping, I completely missed TailBot's deck order when he saw it with Maxi. So we're gonna. I'm guessing you didn't see it either. Did you?
No. I was reviewing my notes of "Lose Yourself" by Eminem.
Okay, so you and I are gonna be casting this blind. TailBot may have more information than we do in terms of what he is going to draw into in round 2 and round 3. So we're not sure if he shuffled his deck or not, but it is a very. It is he knows what's up. Exactly. He knows what's up. He knows what to expect.
Worth noting as well that earlier on, TailBot did mulligan away the Earden, and that's a safe bet to make here, because it's certainly something that can come through and haunt you later on if ForeverYOLO decides to go ahead and swing in with his double cross ability and pick that up. That's a dangerous card. It might not even come into play. We'll see how this goes, but the other cards that TailBot represents in his hand right now are pretty weak, other than maybe picking up that Owneromancy. ForeverYOLO really is just a TailBot, rather just sort of playing it safe and leaving that Earden in the deck so it cannot be scooped up by the double cross ability, as the Fangs of the Emperor comes in, drops a little bit of poison on that drone that's become a little too big for its britches at the 6 points.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to get that many poison opportunities versus Arachis Swarm. They don't typically go too tall. 6 is about as good as it's going to get, I think. And the big thing in this lineup, or in this matchup, is that the Arachis Swarm list of TailBot, cards like Geralt, Earden, and Yennefer are liabilities, to be honest. You don't want them to get copied by Double Cross. You don't want them to get copied by Coup de Grace, because they both come down as 2 strength. And if you play them too early and they're in your graveyard, they can also get copied or stolen by Gorther Gavade plus Cantarella. So like, you can't do much with them at all. The only thing you can really do is get Last Say and mulligan it in round 3 and play it with Oniromancy as your Last Say in round 3, so that they can't copy it with their leader. They also can't get it with the Coup de Grace.
Well, that's kind of how that's the line, and that's basically what you're saying there, is the fact that if you want these cards to help you, you need to hide them away and kind of stash them away, and,
yes.
and you have to find really tricky ways to actually go ahead and retrieve them without them becoming a problem. So like you said, it needs to be in the deck, it needs to be retrieved by Oniromancy, and it needs to be played as a Last Say. That's a lot of criteria just to not get bit in the ass by typical Nilfgaard things.
Double Cross is like banging on your front door. FBI, open up, and check
Exactly.
and see if you've got Earden or Yennefer in your hand.
Yeah, and you just gotta sometimes lie about it and just say, "Oh, I have an Oniromancy," but
it's under the couch. Hide it under the couch and pull it out with the Oniromancy later.
Yeah. Meanwhile, ForeverYOLO's looking at that list, because the open deck list, and saying, "You freaking liar! You absolute liar! I know it's there somewhere, but you gotta hide it," and that's the problem. It's kind of like my girlfriend hides chocolate from me, because otherwise it's all gone. That's kind of how it goes. You just and I know it's there. She lies anyways. No, there's no chocolate. What are you talking about? No, there's chocolate.
TailBot using the Chimera to consume the Endriga eggs, not willing to commit Oniromancy for another consume like Endriga Warrior. Typically, Chimera, you see it used on drones for the boosting effect, but TailBot just needing that swarm a little bit more.
Well, that's the thing. You need to be able to actually develop some bodies here, especially if you want to use that Bone Talisman. There's no other way to necessarily consume it without going ahead and using your Oniromancy to go find the Endriga Warrior. So using the Chimera here to spawn the bodies, I mean, It's a perfectly fine play. It does put a big target on the board, but with a couple poisons already gone, you're pretty safe from that Chimera being chipped away at with poison. And TailBot now does have the follow up if he wants to drop the Behemoth. He does have some bodies on the board and the space to do so.
Yeah, it's either the Behemoth or the Geralt of Rivia here. I personally would say I would lean towards Geralt of Rivia. You're gonna have good targets later as well from the Joachim, but in round 2, TailBot's gonna be proactive. He's gonna want to focus more on swarming his board quickly, and Behemoth is a great card to be able to do that for in round 2. And he's actually gonna elect to take the pass instead, thinking that ForeverYOLO is gonna have to commit something big here to get ahead in one card. It's at 12 points. ForeverYOLO needs 12 points, but then you got to count the bleed that is on the Fangs of the Empire, and the fact that the Blood Moon is going to give another bleeding to Cupbearer.
Look what he found.
YOLO gets leader onto either Geralt of Rivia for points. I think that's 12 points for him right now, or he can take an Oniromancy to get more consistency for later. That will give him a second Echo Oniromancy in round 2.
The overall value of just the Oniromancy is fantastic, and now here's the problem. Again, like we mentioned earlier, or like you said, it's just that it's not just that it's like a 12-point play you need to make. You also need to factor in the Blood Moon that comes through. It's not as straightforward as you may think. There's a few, elements that you have to keep in mind for. And Chimera, I mean, you could eat one of the dogs.
You could eat the bleeding target.
There are different ways to do it, I suppose. As we see Brathens. So a leader and a Brathens against TailBot's just at a pass there. So I think that was a very wise pass to take. Ultimately it paid off. It was a very costly catch-up for ForeverYOLO.
It was costly for sure, but his entire hand was golds, none of which he really wanted to play. I think, but long round 3 is typically very good for a Nilfgaard, but maybe TailBot knows something that we don't. Without leader, it could be a little bit worse, but Nilfgaard is usually able to deal with the clog with cards like Slave Hunter, but TailBot does have extra removal for these Slave Hunters, so we'll see.
Well, no, that's a good plan here. TailBot might be able to take the line here where he just occupies the board, and makes it difficult for ForeverYOLO to just get full value from some of those cards. A lot of the cards that ForeverYOLO is going to play are going to appear on TailBot's side of the board here. You're going to have, besides the Usurper dropping 2 bodies there, you do have Roderick. You will have potentially a Joaquin as well. So there are options here for ForeverYOLO to play. He still has a very strong hand. However, what's worth noting is that the Masquerade Ball, fantastic card, very, very much leaned on as a Nilfgaard strategy for winning. However, what are you really poisoning? A lot of those points that are going to come from the Masquerade Ball are going to probably just be dropped on 3 or 4 or 5 strength units, but a lot of the points that it generates is going to be off of the status effects and the agent value on the Thirsty Dame and the Usurper.
It could also get heat waved. Right? I think there is still a heat wave left in TailBot's deck, yes. So ForeverYOLO takes his time, considers his options, but in the end decides to pass and go for the long round 3 without a leader.
So TailBot's game plan here could change depending on if he sees Coup de Grace earlier than later, because like you mentioned, he does have the Yen in there and the Earden, but they're basically only accessible right now through the Oniromancy, which is the safe way to do it. Now, the other thing about this is that the leader has been spent, right?
Yep.
So now it's not a big deal. You can have these cards in the hand. The problem is playing them and right directly into a Coup de Grace.
Yeah, and TailBot does not have last say. Even though ForeverYOLO used his leader, he didn't go 2 cards down in round 1. So ForeverYOLO is still going to have the last say. And so Earden, you can never really play Earden. Earden is, I think, too devastating against Arrakis Swarm to have it copied. Yennefer, well, we'll see. We'll see. These are the pros. But I think the card to watch out for is Slave Hunter. I think Slave Hunter is going to be a key card in this matchup, whether they survive or if they die. Because when Monster's board fills up, the Slave Hunter order ability for dealing 2 damage can clear up a spy for Forever YOLO, and on the same turn after clearing up the spy can play a new spy in that slot to fill up the board again. When the board is full, TailBot won't be able to play cards like Yennefer of Vengerberg or Geralt of Rivia or Geralt Yrden. So if Forever YOLO can end his turn, end the round with the monster's side board full, then Yrden can't even come down.
It's a scary proposition here if you're TailBot. The fact that a lot of these cards that you want to play may become liabilities down the line, like you mentioned, like the Yrden, like the Yennefer. It's as long as that coup de grace is still locked and loaded, TailBot is going to have to tread lightly here, because dropping an Yrden, you have to assume that your opponent is basically looking to just snipe that card with coup de grace and negate all that work you've done, especially with a card like Yennefer. You drop Yennefer, and it might just get coup de grace and basically redone and against you in this case. So TailBot does have access to that card with his Owneromancy, but that means that you might not be able to go get that Heat Wave that you want.
Exactly. He needs the Heat Wave as well for the Masquerade Ball, or for the Joachim target potentially. Forever YOLO still has Joachim in his deck with 3 other loyal units that it can potentially pull. There's Arturius, a Fangs of the Empire, and a Menno Cohorn. Very quickly, TailBot swarms the entire front row of his.
And double Slave Hunter can be nasty. It can certainly be nasty, especially since there's going to be a lot of cards that are going to get generated. The 2 Fangs of the Empire off of the Masquerade Ball, should it exist. You do have the location that spawns a unit as well, plus the 2 spies coming from the Usurper. However, right now, that row is pretty much all but locked up. There's no space there, so if you want to play Usurper, you're going to have to make space. This is exactly what you're talking about, which is very important. Those Slave Hunters are going to do a lot more than just the points that they represent. They're going to create that space that is necessary to deploy more of those disloyal units, those units that deploy on your opponent's side of the board. And this matchup is so crucial that that those spaces become very, very important.
Forever YOLO could have used the order to remove a body from TailBot's board, but that's not worth it at all. And we see the Bruiser come in early. I was wondering if TailBot was wanting to try to use the Bruiser to set up his Yrden, but he actually separates the 2 engines that would grow. So I'm confused on what the game plan with the Yrden actually is.
It's definitely something that could have been done there. I mean, it's ultimately Yrden. You line up, you know that there's going to be a lot of tall points anyways, and I don't think you're going to get a perfect Yrden by any means. I don't think that the Bruiser was going to really, I don't want to say dictate how this game is played, but you can line them up. But keep in mind that everything's going to be growing tall for a little while here. As you see, the points are starting to stack up for Forever YOLO, and there's still a potential of Joaquin to come through, and again, another super tall unit on the board for Forever YOLO down the line.
Okay, so YOLO decides to use one of the 2 order abilities to clear up a space for his Usurper, and he also decides to pull the agents back, the operatives back over to his side. This is, this matchup has many, many different ways to be played. I don't think there is one specific consensus best way to play it. So I'm curious to see how this line will shake out. I usually don't play it this way from Nilfgaard's perspective, but maybe Forever YOLO's thinking I can just outvalue TailBot. I don't need to prevent him from playing his cards by filling his board. Sometimes you want to leave the operatives on your opponent's side of the board.
I don't know if TailBot played Parasite yet, so that could have been
He did. Parasite is gone already.
Parasite's off the board, so yeah, they could have been that situation there. Not to mention that those spies that do exist on the side of the board, should they get boosted by Bone Talisman or Triss or whatnot, that just comes back in droves on your side of the board when you steal it back later. Let's just get the bodies. Let's just take them while they're available. Given the fact that TailBot still has a few leader charges left, maybe he's Forever YOLO's just thinking that at this point it might be in my best interest to just go ahead and take the value while it's there, make the space, get the cards going, and like you said, just outvalue down the road. Nilfgaard can generate a crap ton of points.
Indeed, especially in a long round 3. YOLO deciding what to steal back from the graveyard. It is going to be a Duchess Informant.
Her grace will not be pleased.
Taking a Bruiser here. I like the...
Oh, you know what? You could push the Chimera into the front row, and that's...
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
And then setting up his own Yurden now.
And TailBot did actually make a decent play there by eating the tallest Arrakis and putting the Chimera in the back row. You know, kind of maybe rescuing some points off of that row into the back row, meaning that an Irden would not be as devastating. But here we are. TailBot is still going to potentially succumb to a coup de grace on his own threat, on his own Irden.
Yeah, TailBot, exactly. I think TailBot's also trying to spread out the boost on his rows so that the counter Yurden won't be as devastating.
Lots of options still for ForeverYOLO, still hanging on to a location and a Cantarella. You could even go ahead and grab that Heatwave if you want. That is definitely an option.
You know what could potentially happen? I think it's unlikely, but if TailBot plays Yurden early, YOLO could coup it, play the Yurden on one row, and then fish it out of the graveyard with Gorthrik Evade Cantarella to play another Yurden on the other row and just reset TailBot's entire board.
I have done that against an Arrakis player with, but it was with Yen. They just continuously tried to develop their board, and I just continuously played their Yens against them, and it was the most amazing thing that have ever happened in my entire life, and that in itself is a sad saying, but still, it was fun while it lasted. But here we go. We're going to go with the Joaquin into the Vigo. Vigo's going to drop in. I believe he's likely going to generate a Spy, if I'm not mistaken, another Duchess, which again is going to further pollute the board. And as you can see, we're running out of real estate because there's 2 charges left on the Arrakis leader, and there is still the click of the location, which drops 2 drones itself. So slowly but surely, TailBot here is running out of space, but there is still some big cards to be played. Coup de grace is basically the X factor here. If ForeverYOLO can just remain patient, wait for it, and maybe clone that Yurden, that could be what dictates the end of this game.
There are so many mind games involved with this matchup because at a high level, as Nilfgaard, you expect your monster opponent to be mulliganing away cards like Yurden and Yennefer. So YOLO might not think TailBot would ever keep Yurden in his hand. And maybe based on that assumption, he might go for like a coup on Joachim or coup on Geralt of Rivia. Because coup on Geralt of Rivia is still 17 points with the Assimilate. It's very good.
So there's the vanilla Geralt comes through, gets and dispatches a 12-point Vigo just like that. Snaps his fingers, poof, it's gone. That's not the target that you want to coup de grace, though, but that could be a tempting feat if you're TailBot. Maybe you drop that in and hope that ForeverYOLO is putting TailBot on having mulliganed away Irden for that exact reason, but I think that ForeverYOLO is not going to take the bait here. Instead, ForeverYOLO is going to drop. Now, this is also fantastic. Now, there you go.
Oh, that's
10
information.
Provisions. Exactly. That's 10
information.
Provisions. So ForeverYOLO now is certain that Irden is in the hand, because had that Viper Witcher Mentor dropped in as 11 points, ForeverYOLO would have known that there's no Irden there. That is a very adept play to drop in because, like you said, Shinmiri, information, so valuable.
It is very, very valuable in these types of games. So now, if YOLO's paying attention, he will know that Geralt Yurden is 100% in TailBot's hand and can be very patient with this coup de grace.
That Irden on the play around there, if YOLO can go ahead and coup de grace onto the Irden and onto that front row, each of those drones is carrying 3 points of glory, and it's just, you know, plus there's also that Chimera there that's hanging on to a bunch of points itself. So here it comes, though. TailBot's going to go ahead, fill up the board. All the spaces are pretty much free and clear here, and maybe this is a situation where you can. Well, you can kill a Spy. You still have, like you said, Shinmiri, there's still a Slave Hunter in the back row that's holding on to a 2-point charge.
I think TailBot's just not going to play the Yurden. I don't know. The opportunity to coup the Geralt of Rivia is gone now. Well, I mean, you can still do it with with the Slave Hunter, but you don't want to do that with the Slave Hunter. I think you want to use... Oh, so YOLO is just going to discard the Cantarella. Interesting. Not going to play it. He's going to... Oh, is that right?
Well, TailBot's
If he
gonna
can
pass
get
here.
ahead.
Well, he can go ahead kill the spy in the back row.
Okay, he's just going to take this. Guaranteed play.
Yeah, safe
Not
play.
even worrying about what Joachim might get, but this is a guaranteed play. Gets the Geralt of Rivia, kills the 12-point Chimera, and wins by 8 points, a comfortable margin, even after discarding a card. Like, we just saw firsthand. We just witnessed firsthand how much of a liability these Geralt, Rivia, Geralt, Yrden, and Yennefer. 2 of them didn't get played. Yrden and Yennefer did not get played, and Geralt of Rivia got used against TailBot himself.
I think that TailBot kind of knew that was the case. That's why you don't see him like fretting about any of those plays and whatnot. I think that down the line, you know that eventually if you want to win, your Arrakis is going to have to face that Nilfgaard list. So let's just do it now. Let's play it. It's out of the equation now because the Nilfgaard list has been through, given the conquest rules that once the deck wins, it's no longer accessible to the player. So each of the players now having 1 win under their belt in the semifinals here at Gwent Open #1 for season 3. But TailBot now is I don't think that he's too perturbed about this. I don't think he's really worrying. He was gonna be unfavored in that matchup more or less, given the fact that even if you play it safe, Shinmiri, even if you don't play these cards like Yrden and such and Yen because of the coup de grace factor, it's unlikely for you to do well in that situation. And TailBot did have a lot of these tall removals and these controllable cards, but ultimately that's just a matchup that doesn't necessarily seem too favorable if you're Arrakis Swarm.
I think it really depends on what version of Arrakis Swarm you run, and I would have liked to see TailBot fight for round 1 a little bit more. I thought like if he played 1 more card, he probably would have gotten it. I would have liked to see him maybe use the Geralt of Rivia in round 1 and then push hard in round 2, fill up his board, play a Bone Talisman, and maybe put ForeverYOLO in an awkward situation in round 2. But with his version, with TailBot's version only running 1 copy of Bone Talisman, no Triss, and then all these great coup de grace targets and steal targets, it is an uphill battle, I think, for him.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Again, at the end of the day, the smoke is cleared for these first 2 games, and it's tied 1 apiece. TailBot has moved through with Blaze of Glory, and just sort of came up a little short with the Arrakis Swarm. And ForeverYOLO moves forward with his double cross. And there's lots to be played. I suspect maybe what do we have on the menu? Is it another Line Pockets Mirror Fiesta that's coming through? I'm really curious to see how this goes through, but I suspect that the next order of business might be we're going to see some Line Pockets on either side.
So both players have Line Pockets. ForeverYOLO still has Arrakis Swarm, and TailBot still has... Oh, wait, both players still have Line Pockets and Arrakis Swarm, actually.
Yeah.
I think.
So this is going to be fascinating. I don't think we've seen an Arrakis Swarm mirror yet. I could be wrong.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember casting an Arrakis Swarm mirror.
Oh,
that could be...
It might be one of those situations of whoever pulls the trigger on their Triss first might be at a disadvantage to a degree. I don't know, but we might see some offensive Trisses. We might see more of the boosty Trisses. We'll see how this goes, but it'll be one of those situations where it's going to be like minimal interaction, but whoever can find the most mileage off of each of those cards that they play, just draw your golds. I mean, we've said it before and go nuts here, but Arrakis Swarm versus Arrakis Swarm can be kind of... I don't like bugs, so...
Yeah, I think I think the Arrakis Swarm mirror is very last say oriented because both players are playing Yrden, and so if you have last say, you can kind of you can reset one of their rows completely, whereas you can protect like one of your Bone Talismans or one of your boost things from their Yrden.
If you decide to hold on to the boost as your last card, is also...
But you can... Wait, if you have last say, you can see if they've committed their Yrden before their last say, and then respond accordingly, knowing what they're likely to have left, either a Yrden or a boost.
I guess the strategy in that case, if you're going into the mirror suspecting that the Yrden is what you're most fearful of, is the fact that you got to figure out a way to actually spread out the points amongst both your rows as much as possible, and not just have all your eggs in one row basket and here it is. It's going to be Line Pockets versus Arrakis Swarm. ForeverYOLO is going to be on the blue coin here, and Tobliat/TailBot is probably going to be mulliganing hard, looking for that Tunnel Drill. Tunnel Drill going to be a big help for TailBot, but TailBot has a little bit of extra help here as well in terms of just quelling some of the swarm factor here, because Horson Jr. is another way to efficiently get rid of some of those drones and getting rid of multiple drones in one swoop.
Yeah, Horson Jr. Is like, it's kind of like another Tunnel Drill. It's another spender that can just remove a lot of bodies if you have a lot of coins. And not to mention Horson Sr. Horson Sr. can make those cut-up lackeys dealing random damage that can potentially kill drones as well.
But this is a tough hand for TailBot here. No safe crackers. He wasn't aware of the Konami code here to go ahead and bust out a safe cracker in your opening hand. And no Furco into your Novigradian Justice either. So what is the Crown Splitter that you're willing to commit here in round one? Do you just go ahead with drop Cleaver right out of the gate here?
It could be. It depends on how much TailBot values round control and winning round one. But it is a very expensive commitment to go Cleaver here. Cleaver is a great card because he can put a lot of your points into Swarm, which counters Yennefer later. It also spends coins in a non-boost way, so it's not very vulnerable to Yrden, even though the Cleaver body himself is. The TailBot is going to respect this round and commit the Cleaver here. Big commitment. Probably will play Justice next to get one of the safe crackers, at least for this round.
ForeverYOLO does have a Heat Wave in the deck if necessary, Dorgari as well as a lock, but the only way to go get them is with Onromancy. So ForeverYOLO is going to have to think about how he wants to use that Onromancy. Is it worth it now? Can I just sort of outpace perhaps this Cleaver, or is Cleaver going to be a thorn in my side and maybe perhaps I lose on even in this round? But like you mentioned, just having those Crown Splitters is important in the case of Novigradian Justice. But furthermore, Shinmiri, like you mentioned, it's also good to just drop bodies and maybe negate some of the yen value that could be developed just off of a fact that you're at a deficit for just pure presence on the board.
Yeah, and YOLO is going to take that Oniromancy, first copy of Oniromancy for the lock. Not knowing whether TailBot has access to Kurt or not, but here TailBot doesn't in fact have access to Kurt, no Oniromancy either, so this lock is going to stick, and YOLO's going to be happy to see that.
Yeah, it's going to stick, but there is a decent follow-up here for TailBot. He does have, let's see, 5 crimes that will trigger off of the safe cracker, which is a pretty decent clip there if you want just to go for points and tempo. Not to mention you do have a Sea Jackal there to convert a lot of those coins into pure value there. So I think TailBot is in no means done with this round. I think that he's just maybe evaluating what he could potentially do.
The Horson Senior comes down right away. What is this? Transforming a 5 to a 4, but getting the engine back.
Hey now. Sometimes you got to take a step back to take 3 steps forward. In this case, Horson Sr. comes through, goes ahead and transforms the locked up Cleaver into a cut up lackey. Well, there are plenty of crimes in hand here, so there's going to be some ping value. And I think that TailBot here is likely saying, well, this is one of the ways that I can go ahead and take care of some of the swarming that you plan on doing, because I've got crimes coming up next and it's going to get ugly. So I think ForeverYOLO here is going to have to decide, how much he pushes here. He is on blue. Is this a situation where he maybe evaluates, where can I find a safe margin to pull the shoot here and just get out of this situation?
All right, so I think this is the maxi that we're seeing right here on ForeverYOLO's side. Looking at the order of his deck, a lot of bronzes up top. I think that's the Yrden at the very bottom, second to last.
Yeah, it looks bad. Because you have a bunch of bronzes, but a lot of the cards there you can access with Onromancy on the flip side, but it's just too much now because at the bottom of that deck,
he's already used down there.
Too. Yeah, and that's the thing. You won't have a second wheel of it or third wheel of Onromancy. There's no double echo, thank God, but Yeah, here it goes. As you see, the cut-up lackeys are starting to do some work. The Safecracker is going to come through, show up as an 8-point unit. Engine, pockets, the whole thing is going, and ForeverYOLO is tapping out here.
Yeah, just loses on even. But did get a lot out of him. TailBot committed Cleaver, Justice, as well as Horse and Senior. But
TailBot's stoic as always here. There's the Kurt. That could have been very helpful early on.
Indeed. Same with the Furco. But TailBot and YOLO are just polar opposites of each other in terms of their demeanor.
Ooh, that's a big card.
The Tunnel Drill drawn into TailBot's hand. ForeverYOLO's just jamming. It looks like ForeverYOLO did not shuffle.
No, Chimera, and I believe the card after that was a Bruiser, I think.
It was, I did manage to take a screenshot this time around. It was a Rakkus Nest into Bruiser and then into double Chimera.
Okay.
And next is a Behemoth. Behemoth is next. And then Endriga Eggs and then Heatwave.
Well, you're getting access to one of those, be it Heatwave or be it your Earden. Because without shuffling the deck, you see that those cards are way down deep in the hole there. So another round, so 3 more draws and 2 more mulligans perhaps can get you access to that Heatwave and still have the Earden at the bottom of the deck as we immediately drop the Crimson Curse there. And it's going to rain Bloody Terror onto that Safecracker. But still, it's a pretty beefy Safecracker. So ForeverYOLO knows that there's a lot of crimes in hand, and those Dip of the Pontars are really good against Arrakis Swarm. Even though they're only 3 damage, it's the body removal that makes it so nice and valuable, especially with a spender at the ready like the Jackal or the Drill.
Indeed. This 3 damage is removing a body. That 3-point body is, if YOLO goes deep into this round, if this round does go deep, it's gonna be 5, 6, 7 potentially, if all the swarm payoff is used in this round.
So is there a situation here, Shadmiri, let's say, where TailBot goes all the way down to Furco and Drill, and then maybe plays Furco into some type of crime, like a shakedown, let's say, fill the bank a bit, then you drop this the Drill in round 3 with the Furco in the pocket to go ahead and just kill some of these drones. Like you mentioned, there is the Arrakis Behemoth coming down the pipe for ForeverYOLO. All 5 charges are there. I think TailBot might just be playing a bunch of crimes here, and maybe he's just going to hang on to that Furco and Drill for a round 3 and just see how many resources he can bleed out with a bunch of bronzes.
I think you may be onto something here, and I want to argue that he doesn't even need the Furco for round 3. He can spend the Furco here, too. We saw this yesterday, where even with no Crown Splitters at all, Tunnel Drill is still able to do 1 damage for 2 coins, and 1 damage is all you need to kill the drones. And TailBot's not going to have first say in round 3, so he won't even want to slow down to set up the Furco in the first place. He'll want to just drill immediately once there are 1s on the board.
There was a time, TailBot, or sorry, Shinmiri, where perhaps TailBot would have had a Tin Boy in the deck, possibly, but not this time, unfortunately. For TailBot, that's a big card that doesn't exist in that list, but the Drill is going to get the job done down the road. The question is how deep does TailBot want to go into this round? And when you're looking and evaluating your hand, something like Kurt, not all that important. Let's say it's not going to get immense amounts of value with the Purify, let's say. Also, you do have 2 spenders here, so you don't necessarily need both, given the fact that the control options that ForeverYOLO has are relatively limited. The lock has already been showed. Heatwave is still floating around somewhere. TailBot's going to come through, click the button once for value there, bring that up to 7, dodging Parasite as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think TailBot wouldn't even be too sad if he saw a Parasite, because Parasite is a great way to answer the Tunnel Drill later on. But TailBot still needs to get Flying Redanian out of his deck, still needs to develop carryover in terms of coins for round 3. This is the big advantage of winning round 1 on even cards, is that it almost doesn't matter how good your opponent's hand is in round 2. In fact, if you're going to do this sort of bleed strategy, you want your opponent's hand in round 2 to be as strong as possible, so they have to keep playing win conditions as you trade bronze card for gold card over and over again. And TailBot just wants the short round here to prevent YOLO from having capabilities of swarming in round 3.
ForeverYOLO downing his muscle milk there as the brain waves are in full force. We're going to go ahead. There's the Redanian finally coming out of the deck. 3 points of Greedy Thin there. And he is not ahead, but like you mentioned, who cares, right? This is not this is not a round that he expects to win. This is a round where he wants to basically stay within striking distance should ForeverYOLO have the odd idea of hero passing, but that's never going to happen. In this case, TailBot is just keeping it close enough. The spender's there, the coins are in the bank, and there's still some very acceptable cards to spend here. You can just go ahead and click the button on the Sea Jackal, refill with Swindle. You have a really, less than impressive Tavern Brawl, but it's still I think the value of Tavern Brawl is not necessarily the points that it's going to generate for you or remove rather off the side of ForeverYOLO. It's the gold card that it's going to buy out of ForeverYOLO's hand in response.
Exactly.
Oh, Triss!
This is a Triss!
This is what I were talking about, and one of the reasons why I don't play Triss in my Arrakis list, I know that it's probably not a good idea, but I know my own luck, and in this case, ForeverYOLO has a little bit of flake luck there as he drops in against the Crimes list. This is a really, really tough card to play against a Crimes list.
The triple Crimes on the Triss. I mean, not the worst time to see it because, you're winning this round.
Wow.
Whoa. TailBot said, okay, you missed your Triss. Well, that just opens up an opportunity for me to actually clear your board, and now I'm actually threatening the round. This is an interesting turn of events. I did not expect this.
No, that was definitely something that I thought would occur later on. He held on to it for as long as possible there, but there's the Parasite is going to answer it. So the question now is, was that an opportunity that TailBot may have squandered to just maybe play some more nonsense on the board? I think maybe he wanted to drop the drill and then refill the bank with Swindle, hoping that perhaps ForeverYOLO didn't have a response for it. But
you know what the funny thing is that if the Triss had hit a Bone Talisman and those drones were 3 strength, TailBot would have never played the tunnel drill there, right? So the fact that Triss missed might have lured TailBot into making a mistake. I don't know if TailBot committing the drill here is even going to win him the round or even get his card back.
If TailBot was hell-bent on playing the drill in this round, he could have played the Furco into a Crime to create the pocket to kill the 3s, but I feel like if that looks like that's what the setup is going to be, ForeverYOLO would then further respond with a Yennefer to just put those drones further out of distance. But at that point, it would look like ForeverYOLO may have just overcommitted and running out of pieces to really make a splash in round 3. As TailBot is still in control here, though the points may be skewed in one favor. That's not the tail of the tape in this case. It's the fact that TailBot's up 1 round to nothing and on even in round 1.
Yeah, it's looking like, ForeverYOLO's still up so many points, up 17 points here on even cards. It's really not looking like TailBot's gonna be able to put up a fight in this round despite committing the tunnel drill. I wonder, maybe TailBot just doesn't want to play the tunnel drill. He just wants to go for as short of a round 3 as possible.
Horson Jr. is still an option.
Both cards?
Well, Horson Jr. is still in the deck for TailBot. He does also have a Philippa. However, Philippa against Swarm is tough to really devastate your opponent with. Stealing 1 unit out of a multitude doesn't necessarily have the impact it would against a deck that might rely on a bigger card. A Philippa against, let's say, a Skellige is a bigger deal than it is against an Arrakis Swarm. But there is still that Horson Jr., right? That can clean up the board fairly nice as well.
Yeah, that's true. Horson Jr. can do that, but at a more expensive rate than the tunnel drill. The tunnel drill only costs you 2 to clean up 1 unit. Horson Jr. costs you 3 to clean up a unit.
Here comes the Ownermancy. I believe, is this the first wheel of the Ownermancy? It could, I think so.
No, that's the second one already.
Second wheel. Okay, so that's a good buy there. I mean, you're dropping Furco to play a Bronze Crime. Again, you're still building up your gourd. But the threat of Irden still looms. There is still a Yennefer that is in the arsenal of ForeverYOLO. TailBot is kind of running out of options here. I still suspect that perhaps committing that tunnel drill there may have been slightly overconfident. TailBot does pick up the Horson Jr. though, and that's one way to that could be, he could be playing Exterminator here and just squashing all these bugs as they appear.
We will have to see. ForeverYOLO has a pretty good hand here.
Good.
A lot of
so
Swarm with
good.
Yennefer. Heatwave not so good for TailBot on the other hand, despite being a 10 provision gold. Philippa is okay. Philippa will transfer over like some units. It'll be a net gain of 3 units for TailBot.
So the good news here is that there are no control elements for ForeverYOLO. So the Sea Jackal will be protected, the Whoreson Jr. will be protected, and you can always rely on your last save being gored with the Ownermancy. And there are a lot of crimes that were played, so that gourd is going to be pretty beefy. He might be a 15-16 point gourd perhaps by the end of the day here. The difference here is that Philippa is not all that fantastic, but it is a good way to steal a unit from your opponent's board as well as generate more presence on your side, as we see here as well. Let's just beef up the bank as well. But here it comes. So we're going to fill the board fairly nicely. Again, the Arrakis Behemoth gives a little bit of extra sauce on all of those drones, and this might be the situation. I think
the Whoreson time. It's Whoreson time.
It's Whoreson time. Let him go.
You got the boosted unit to destroy with a deploy, and you need to kill these drones now, otherwise they're going to be 4 strength after the Yennefer, and then Whoreson only has the capability of killing 3 strength or lower units with his fee capability.
If TailBot does not play the Whoreson Jr. now, he might just be putting ForeverYOLO on a very
bad hand.
Bad hand or he might be putting him on a more greedy play, saying that, okay, maybe you want to establish a few more. We'll see how that goes, but nope, that's how it's going to happen here. Whoreson Jr. is going to come through. I'm curious as to there we go. We're going to kill 1, fill the bank. And yeah, there it is. He could probably do that 2 more times if he so chooses. In this case, he opts rather to just hang on to those coins.
Yeah.
Well, you're hanging on to the coins because there's a likelihood that those 4 coins are going to be used on one of the 4-point drones after the Yennefer hits.
Yeah, exactly. For the Philippa, he's expecting that yen.
More board development. Spontaneous Evolution goes ahead and just drops in with some more bodies, making that yen so devastating. This might be a situation where perhaps you have to steal that body to maybe mitigate a little bit of that yen potential.
You can steal it later. Like, it doesn't matter, right? But it depends on whether TailBot's putting YOLO on Yen or Yurden. If he's putting him on Yurden, you don't really want to play the Gourd right now. Gourd is going to be really feeding a Yurden. TailBot probably just doing some math here.
I wonder if there's ever a situation where perhaps... Well, what you could do here is you could steal a... I was going to say you could steal a 1 and spend that extra coin to kill a 2.
That's true, that's true. It's a little bit cheaper for TailBot to use the Philippa now, which is nice.
Well, you know what? This isn't as overwhelming for ForeverYOLO as you may think, because that gourd has been supercharged.
I don't think it's 15 though. I think it's like something like 13 is my guess.
Oh, little too short.
Yeah, just short. Yes, 13 exactly. 2-point difference. Damn, what a close game. And I think that Tunnel Drill might have been the difference if he had been able to save the Tunnel Drill for round 3. The Tunnel Drill would have been able to kill more drones than the Whoreson Jr. because of the cheaper fee.
Yeah, it would have been able to just take off a lot more of those bodies that eventually were the difference. Frankly, it was 1 drone that changed the difference there, wasn't it? At the end of the day, if you just kill 1 or more of them, TailBot could probably go ahead and just take a look and review. Maybe those coins were better off used. If Philippa stole a 1 and TailBot used those 3 coins instead of 2 on Whoreson to kill one of the 2-point drones, that might have changed the landscape of how this game turned out. That gourd was pretty tall, but it was not tall enough, as that is a win for ForeverYOLO now. ForeverYOLO up 2-1 on TailBot. TailBot has some work to do here, Shinmiri.
Yeah, but I wanted to add that the downside of playing the Tunnel Drill in round 3, you can't just compare directly between Tunnel Drill and Whoreson Jr. because Whoreson Jr. is many more points than Tunnel Drill just straight off the bat before you start removing anything. Whoreson Jr. has that deploy and he gains coins. He he gets, I think, 4 coins for killing a 2 strength unit because he is compensated for that amount of overkill. So maybe having both in round 3 would have been enough for TailBot.
Again, it's all going to come down to that turning point in round 2 where TailBot decided that he's going to drop the tunnel drill and maybe look to 2-0 there. He was in a commanding spot there. I mean, you win on even and you have a really wicked hand, and it was a hand meant to bleed that had the potential to possibly 2-0, but maybe he was just like maybe one Philippa away or a gourd away in round 2 to maybe just close the deal there, and that drill ultimately may have been his demise in round 2.
I can't help but think that the Triss low roll onto 3 crimes was a blessing in disguise for ForeverYOLO.
You know what? That's a very good point. And I know you mentioned it earlier. I wanted to touch upon that as well. But the fact that he just whiffed on that Triss means that it perhaps gave TailBot a little bit of confidence there to go ahead and maybe just step on, just pedal to the metal.
Step on the gas.
Basically, the fact's like, okay, you whiffed. This is my opening. We're going to go through with it. TailBot now is going to be on the Arrakis. So the tables have turned here as ForeverYOLO is going to be using the line pockets to perhaps shut down TailBot's Arrakis Swarm list. So the roles are reversed here. Let's see if the slight changes in these lists will make a difference, as TailBot is walking into this list with a little bit more of a control-y element to his Arrakis.
Yeah, I think that should help him. The extra Geralt of Rivia can kill a Spender like a Sea Jackal. It can kill a Cleaver or a Jacques. So he does have that extra control, which is nice, but he's lacking a little bit on the Swarm payoff. TailBot only running 1 copy of Bone Talisman and no Triss. But Triss, again, Triss in this matchup, you can't really rely on her getting Bone Talisman in the first place.
And this might be a first year, ladies and gentlemen of the Twitch community. You may be witnessing history. This because 2 line pockets games in a row where the opening play was not a safe cracker.
Wow. Can this happen to my opponents on ladder a little bit more, please?
Yeah, seriously, what the hell is going on? This is not right. This wasn't in the script, friends. This is not how this was supposed to go. So here comes TailBot. I guess he's taking a look at what's coming through, dropping Maxi. You have your Parasite, your Heatwave, and your Location, followed by some rags there afterwards before you get to the good stuff, before you get to the Earden. I don't know if he shuffled. I suspect maybe he did, because there wasn't a whole lot coming down the pipe that was going to be juicy for him.
Yeah, we won't know. We can't, unfortunately, from the spectator client, I don't think we can tell what decision the player ended up making. But yeah, with Oniromancy and Yurda not being able to be drawn until round 3 at the earliest, I think that's probably warranted for a shuffle.
Didn't look like it was, you're drawing into bronzes, whereas a lot of the impact cards, like your Heatwave, like your Earden, that stuff's just sort of really down deep in that deck, and you got to take the risk and shuffle here because it's going to take you a few turns and several mulligans to go find that stuff. Cleaver opens up. This is what happened to TailBot last game. There was no safe cracker, so he had to open up with the Cleaver to go ahead and just, put that Novigradian Justice online. And in this case, TailBot might be, I don't want to say he's feeling happy here, because this is essentially what happened to him last time. But last time that happened to him, he ended up winning on even, but ultimately losing the game.
Right. So winning on even is not everything. It's also about how many resources you end up expending before the crucial round 3. TailBot ended up using Cleaver, Justice, as well as Horse and Senior in round 1 last game, and then the pivotal Tunnel Drill in round 2. We'll see if ForeverYOLO ends up being able to win round 1 on even with this line as well, and if he chooses to save some different resources for the crucial round 3.
Multiple options here for TailBot. Obviously, the most likely would be to drop the Endrega Warrior to eat the eggs and go ahead. That's a weird thing. The Endrega Warrior eating the Endrega eggs. Like, is that a little bit of...
Is it cannibalism?
Yeah, that does not seem kosher, ladies and gentlemen. Nonetheless, eggs are good. They're delicious. And you can go ahead and drop the Endrega Warrior to go ahead and start the swarm process. Again, when an Endrega Warrior eats an insectoid, it does drop an additional drone. So you'll have a very populated front row there. Subsequently, if you want to, I mean, it probably not the best play, but you can always drop the Spontaneous Evolution onto the Endrega eggs as well. It is an insectoid, it'll have the same function, but then again, I don't think that's what TailBot is looking to do here. Dip in the Pontar, nice way to go ahead and just, it adds a little bit of points. The Intimidate is now on 2 for Cleaver as he's pocketed on one side, one of the flanks, flanked by 1 Cleaver's muscle. He's not there with his whole crew yet, but he is gaining strength.
That's the biggest reaction I've ever seen a player have when playing a Dip in the Pontar. ForeverYOLO just slams a Dip in the Pontar and starts jamming out.
Why not? I mean, you got to find the joy where it exists. In that case, if Dip in the Pontar if that's your flavor, then just by all means dive in, baby. Head first, mouth open, Dip in the Pontar, yeehaw, let's go. What's good for TailBot here is that depending on what the situation is in terms of how tall some of these units are TailBot does always have the option to go ahead and drop the Geralt onto the Cleaver, but I suspect that maybe that's not the ideal target at this moment. There are going to be some Spenders, some Sea Jackals and such that might be getting taller, but at the same time, I think that ForeverYOLO is going to prioritize spending those coins on a drill. So I don't know if TailBot is going to overvalue perhaps that Geralt, suspecting that a lot of the coins are going to be turned into drill activations. So there is a chance here that Geralt gets used in this round.
ForeverYOLO deciding to utilize the fee of Cleaver one time to get ahead, threatening to stay ahead and threatening to win on even cards. He still has the Flying Redanian in the deck, so at some point ForeverYOLO should be looking to get up to 9 coins. And there we see the Geralt of Rivia just taking out the Cleaver, stopping its spending, and maybe forcing YOLO to either give up the round or commit another spender like that Sea Jackal. And it's going to be difficult for YOLO to get ahead now unless he wants to commit something like Justice, I think, is maybe the only thing that's going to get him ahead. And he's already played a couple of crimes, so with a couple crimes out of the hand, every crime that you play out of your hand before playing a Safecracker is worth 2 points.
Yeah, no, you're totally correct here. And he's just kind of sitting on that Novigradian Justice. I suspect perhaps he wants to use it maybe to defend a bleed or to just apply extra pressure in a round that matters. Having those come out, it is an instant pocket if you can drop the Furco in. Play a crimes, and then go ahead and play the Novigradian Justice into a Cleaver's Muscle and the Safecracker in a later round. Just gives you that pocket that you might need in order to get extra value off the drill. But like we've discussed before, a drill against a Arachis Swarm, it doesn't feel bad if you're killing a 1-point drone, because those drones become, bigger, badder, nastier as the game goes on. But a lot of people talking Shinmiri about the fact that a lot of these lists are the leaders of at least the lists that the players are bringing are very similar. They're very much uniform in terms of line pockets, Arachis Swarm, Blaze of Glory, etc. But it's these small choices that have been made by the players, such as TailBot's inclusion of Geralt here, that really changes the dynamic. And a card like that comes in and can just go ahead and snipe that Cleaver can be a game changer.
Yeah, these tech choices here and there, the different variations, they give you different matchups. Sometimes you can swing a traditionally unfavored matchup to be even or even slightly favorable with these choices and completely throw like a best of 5 conquest lineup in disarray.
ForeverYOLO still holding on to some pretty big cards there. You do have the drill. You do have a Siggy there to refill the bank in order to get a lot more value out of that drill should the drill survive. But I suspect that TailBot is going to have an instant answer for that drill when it shows up. That is a scary card. The question is did ForeverYOLO perhaps learn from the previous game where the tables were turned? Is TailBot having TailBot playing the drill in a bleeding round 2, is ForeverYOLO going to make the same mistake? The difference here is that ForeverYOLO is down a card, but his hand right now is a lot better than what TailBot's was in the previous game.
Did we just see ForeverYOLO mulligan away Justice? Did I see that right?
That is exactly what happened.
But
yes,
he didn't. But he doesn't have Furco or Oniromancy in this round. How is he going to get his Justice back? He can't for round 2 at least, right?
That's a curious case of Benjamin Button in this case. well, we've got a 5-point safecracker, and TailBot here is going to have to defend the bleed. The issue right now is the fact that ForeverYOLO is still at 7 cards. It's not necessarily telegraphed here that he is going to continue to push, given the fact that he is down the card. So TailBot doesn't necessarily have to commit something massive, but he's opting in this case. Let's just go ahead and get rid of that. Was that the heat wave, I believe?
That was the heat wave, yes. And I think TailBot is thinking that YOLO must have a Justice in his hand. So if I get rid of the Crown Splitter, he can't pull the Justice out without something like Furco.
And if that's the case, if TailBot is putting ForeverYOLO on playing Justice as the next play, that Heat Wave may have actually just bricked the Justice. So that Heat Wave actually takes care of the card on the board and the card in hand. The difference here is that we have the information, TailBot does not. The Justice was mulliganed earlier, and confusing enough perhaps for you and I, Shinmiri, but right now, that bluff, we've seen ForeverYOLO bluff before, and in this case, perhaps he's dropping it in there to go ahead and fish out a removal card that can maybe free up the drill in a later situation.
Maybe ForeverYOLO is just like on a different plane of existence, that he's played this matchup so much that he knows that this is the typical response in round 2, is to heat wave the singular Crown Splitter, so he just preemptively gets rid of the Justice to not have this dead card in his hand, because if he had a Justice right now, he wouldn't be able to play it. He's not going to commit the Tunnel Drill to activate the Justice, right? So
yeah, he is on an M&M class planet, habitable to human species. He is just there doing his thing. Very interesting lines of play, frankly, and decisions that are being made. These mulligans are in themselves as fascinating as the cards being played from turn to turn here. As ForeverYOLO does have a boat on the board, Philippa's going to come through, max value on one of those drones. And what I like about a Philippa play against Arrakis Swarm is that it's -1 body for you, +2 bodies for me. So it does sort of rob a little bit of the reach that Yennefer may have represented. Follow up here. Crimson Curse drops in. There's plenty of targets there. Now, if that Redanian dies, it can come back later on, but you do need to sort of start establishing the board here. And the longer that the round goes, the less value you will get from the Crimson Curse.
And what is ForeverYOLO's plan now? He's going to, I think he's committing something like Jacques. He's going to kind of match the amount of swarm that TailBot has on his board, never giving him like an amazing Yennefer. Maybe the thought process. Also choosing to boost the Jacques by 1, make sure that Parasite is not able to kill the spender. The only spender he's wanting to commit in this round is Jacques.
That's a safe bet. I think your ForeverYOLO just saw what happened in the previous game where the drill came out off of a bleed, and it was a devastating move. It may have been what determined how round 3 played out, given the fact that there was just no way to quell the way the board was spreading out there against TailBot. In this case, TailBot has to understand here that if a drill does come out, those 1-point drones are very vulnerable. So you're eventually going to have to boost them to protect them. And maybe that the Arrakis Behemoth comes out. Yeah, there it comes out. So this at least protects against a more lethal drill. This is going to be a drill that's going to be struggling to find value. It's going to be very expensive to clear bodies off the board. So perhaps ForeverYOLO may be just looking to sort of ease off the pedal a little bit.
And we see the flying Redanian gets bled again, gets hit by the Blood Moon for 2 damage, goes straight to the graveyard, and now ForeverYOLO can play the Siggy Reuven, profiting right back up to 9 coins, and all the 2 turns of bleed just nullified by that flying Redanian, and it jumps right back into the front row for another chance.
This is incredible because remember yesterday ForeverYOLO was just mired by a Crimson Curse for several games, several turns, in multiple rounds. And how many times did the Veiled units catch the bleed? In this case, the Flying Redanian is playing hero here and eating some of that damage only to show up again in the sequel. This is a lot of luck towards ForeverYOLO in those 50-50s of how that shows up. But right now, I mean, ForeverYOLO must be thinking, as a wise man once said, we can't lose.
TailBot finally catches a break here with the Crimson Curse RNG. Goes on to the Arrakis drone this time. YOLO is... Oh, he's actually going to play Kurt offensively for Bounty. Now this catches me by surprise. He could have played Kurt just to purify the bleed off of the drone. He's playing it for bounty, maybe
For
to
the
try to
Tavern
activate it with
Brawl.
Tavern Brawl. But I mean,
The Tavern Brawl. Well, the Tavern Brawl is going to be worth the 1 point off of. It's going to be worth 4 coins ultimately, and those 4 coins can be spent on your Jacques if you so choose, or it brings you up to 8 coins, which means you're going into round 3 with 4 coins. So maybe he's just thinking. Yeah, he's thinking about how many of these coins can he bring over to round 3. You know, how deep can I make these pockets to go into the round 3 with a drill that can actually do a significant amount of work. If he goes in to round 3 with 4 coins in his pocket plus 5 charges, he can not only play a card, use up the bank, but he can call back the Redanian if necessary as well.
Yeah, that is a good point. Maybe he's just playing for maximum carryover here, and I think YOLO is probably going to not be able to get his card back if TailBot plays a little aggressive here. And that's going to be the difference because in the last match, TailBot won round 1 on even cards. So without getting his card back, he still had he wasn't at a disadvantage in round 3.
Or bodies. But that's a pretty big play to make here. I mean, it's necessary to a degree, obviously, but you need to be able to have those swarm capabilities later on. And you still have 4 charges from your leader ability, but dropping your Wispus into a spontaneous Evo, that's a lot of bodies that you're giving up for round 3.
That is the second spontaneous evolution that TailBot has played. He still has 2 Arrakis nests left as swarm capabilities, as well as an Endriga egg, but that Endriga egg is going to need another activator. On top of the 4 leader charges, we see a Bone Talisman getting played here, and as TailBot recognizes that maybe the Chimera is a little bit more valuable in a shorter round because it has some base strength, some power to the body, maybe not enough, predicting that he's not going to have enough drones to actually swarm 2 rows and probably only have drones on 1 row.
TailBot's move here, that's a big card. That could maybe fish out the drill. That Earden feels bad right now.
Well, he does have last say. He has last say because he got the card advantage in round 2. So the Earden should be able to counter or at least trade relatively evenly with a Gord in the worst case, if there is a Gord. Oh, and the YOLO's top decks are awful.
Yeah, those are bad. If anything, you are getting yourself a 2-point pocket. You're going to set up the Safecracker and the drill, so the drill will be able to do 2 damage apiece there. The problem is that TailBot now has access to that Odomancy, and I don't think that we've seen a lock yet. As we can see, ForeverYOLO is just gonna. ForeverYOLO likes to just pull the plug on these matches before the round 3 theatrics take place. But
I mean, he did low roll that round 3 draw really badly. There was still Oniromancy, there was still Furco into Justice, or the Justice itself might have been okay as well, and Gord. So like missed all of his important golds, down a card. I think his chances were super slim, but I mean, different players have different MOs when it comes to these sort of situations. Sometimes even when you draw very badly, there's also a small chance that your opponent has drawn even worse than you. So maybe play it out once in a blue moon that will still end up in a win. But ForeverYOLO, I think he's a lot about the mindset, about making sure he stays in the groove. So sometimes dragging out a very tough loss can have a negative impact on your mindset going into the next game. So maybe he just wants to move on and reset.
No, that's a good, it's good advice there. Sometimes you don't necessarily want to play into that round 3 knowing that it's just not even in your best interest. You know that your opponent still has an Oniromancy, I believe, that was going to wheel around. You still haven't seen any of the big cards. There's still leader charges, and the location was still... I believe the location hadn't been clicked by then. I think it was still online, so there was still going to be some ways to develop the board. And frankly, for ForeverYOLO there, that drill was going to be an expensive endeavor to clean up the board, especially when you don't necessarily have a whole lot of points to show for yourself at the end of the day. It's not like you had a Jacques to rely on for just point slam, or a Gord ultimately. Not to mention, your Gord was likely going to get gobbled up by the Earden. Yeah. Are we in line for a line pockets here? A little mirror action?
Yeah, line pockets fallen for both players. It is going to be game number 5, the line pockets mirror. I believe YOLO is on blue coin and TailBot is on red. And I think in the mirror, I would say red is a little bit favored because it is a game of resources, and the player on blue coin doesn't want to commit something like the Justice if red coin doesn't have to play that. And we'll see how the players end up approaching it. We do have game number 5 here. Are we going to go all the distance, all series to game number 5?
Today? I mean, I'm not going to complain because I think that these are really great games. Like, the players have matched up very well. It's a testament to the fact that all of these are world-class players, and they've gotten to this tournament for a reason. They're just excellent at this game, and we've seen that all of these matches have gone to 5 and even a 6th game in certain situations. And like you mentioned, in terms of a mirror match, we can give the advantage to the red coin player. They have the option to basically assess situations, react accordingly. Whereas if you're on blue in the mirror match, you have to play a little bit more intuitively and trying to sort of parse out how your opponent may react to the board that you present them. The difference here is that what the hell is going on? No safecracker again for ForeverYOLO. What is this tomfoolery? But Toblia has broken the curse there. TailBot has come through and finally found a safecracker, whereas ForeverYOLO has to do it in another more...
This is expensive. YOLO deciding to Justice straight away instead of just... he had the option of Oniromancy into a safecracker before committing this Justice. But then you commit the Oniromancy, so it's kind of... which is the lesser evil?
That's right, and there's still a Jacques in the deck that you might want to play. Obviously not in round 1, but there are some valuable cards you want to play that, some answers that you want to go ahead and pick up with that Oniromancy, such as, well, maybe you want to go ahead and find that Kurt. Maybe that's something you need to pick up at some point. Neither of these players are really playing poison, so it's not a worry in that case. But TailBot is going to do this the old-fashioned way, which is I'm just going to drop the safecracker as it was meant to be. As the first play, as line pockets, we're going to put it in the back row and just sort of social distance ourselves from that melee row.
Quick note on that positioning. Normally, you see all the crown splitters stack in the front row for those pockets, but both players here running Tavern Brawl in their lists. So that's why both of them are distancing themselves, distancing the safecrackers to the range row, getting them away from the shielded cleaver's muscle, because a 5-point shield onto like a 13, for example, which these safecrackers totally could get to 13 potentially, would be an absolutely devastating Tavern Brawl.
TailBot going with the Oniromancy this time, likely to go pick up that Furco of his own, because Novigradian Justice is not just for blue, it is also for red, friends, as it shows up nice and tempo-y, as the Novigradian Justice does find the Crown Splitter. So the muscle shows up, the party's on, friends, and we're going to have the same kind of placement for TailBot, likely going to put that safecracker to the left of the Furco to dodge the Tavern Brawl. He's thinking about it. Okay, now
he doesn't.
I would have likely suspected that safecracker goes to the left of the Furco to dodge a Tavern Brawl, and ForeverYOLO might be sort of licking his chops here in terms of value for a Tavern Brawl. Perhaps that is the best option. However, Tavern Brawl is also a decent way to get rid of a Cleaver.
Indeed. Cleaver has to basically always spawns next to a Cleaver's muscle, so Tavern Brawl, pretty valuable card in the matchup. I don't know. It's also something that's kind of easy to forget about. But there's the Tavern Brawl. Not much hesitation from YOLO, cleaning up one of the safecrackers now and getting a 7-point lead. 10-point lead, my bad.
Yep, getting the Flying Redanian out of the deck with the maximum amount of coins in your pocket as possible. Also dumping the Crystal Skull onto the Cleaver, meaning that, again, less potential value off of a Tavern Brawl, but it also sort of dictates here that ForeverYOLO might be looking to just get a lead and find a decent pass. As we see, Horson Sr. there has gone ahead, and a mysteriously cloaked individual is there in the middle of all of that. What is that? Is that a...
It's a cut-up lackey. It's a cut-up lackey hiding in the shadows.
We're moving on here. It looks like TailBot's just going to try to figure out which one of these crimes he wants to play. He does have 1 intimidation trigger, 2 and 3 finally. So any crime here is going to put him way ahead. As we see, the cut-up lackey does some work, and That's all she wrote for round 1. We're going to round 2, ladies and gentlemen. This is the semifinals at Gwent Open number 1 for season 3. I am Flake. I'm joined, of course, by Shin Miri here. And round 2 in the lined pockets mirror. Both players have used some decent cards, but it doesn't seem like the big boys have come out to play just yet.
Of note, TailBot I think TailBot has used a little bit more. TailBot's used both Safecrackers. YOLO still has one. TailBot's also used his Horse and Senior, which is okay. I wouldn't say it's a bad card in this matchup. It's not like amazing, but it's still 2 engines.
TailBot has picked up the Fist Tech. That's poison that you want to see. Unfortunately, completing the package is going to be an issue, as he does run just
only
the 2.
Yeah, only 2 Fist Techs. He has Oniromancy to get the second one if he really wants it that bad, but like that's already your second Oniromancy, and still a lot of golds left in the deck.
I apologize. I wasn't sure. I was looking at ForeverYOLO's list. ForeverYOLO's list does not run poison. TailBot's does run the 2 Fist Techs. The problem with running Fist Tech is you got to rock them as a pair, right? Otherwise, it's going to be problematic. But dodging that round 1 with the Veil means that those poisons, if you can get both of them, are likely just going to hit and be perfectly fine.
But there is a Kurt in ForeverYOLO's deck. Both of them run Kurt, but ForeverYOLO does have Kurt, so he can purify the poison should he feel it necessary.
What would be an interesting play here is that TailBot can just sort of freewheel that single Fist Tech here onto a target of value, and if that does bring out Kurt, then it brings out Kurt. The way that ForeverYOLO has to get Kurt is going to be with his Oniromancy, whereas if it doesn't occur, then TailBot can go ahead and use his Oniromancy to complete the package there and sort of dodge the Kurt. However, we've seen ForeverYOLO effectively use Kurt as a bounty enabler here. So we'll see how this goes, but TailBot in this case is just going to go ahead and kind of walk into a long round 3, and ForeverYOLO is going to have to figure out what he wants to do in this case.
It's going to take first Oniromancy for maybe like an assault. Get to 9 coins. Thinking about it.
But if there's an assault, does the TailBot still have 9 coins?
Yeah, the boat will come back out, but YOLO already has a body on the board. The 4-point Sea Jackal's already on the board, so
right there, yeah.
There's no problem for him to do that in this case.
YOLO trying to figure out, is it worth dropping the Safecracker here, or am I just going to go ahead and pick out a Cron?
He is thinking that the assault might be worth something. Doesn't use the assault, because I would have thought the assault was the least valuable card. What is he looking to remove with 4 damage if the Horse and Senior and the Cut Up Lackey are gone?
Both players are representing a Philippa in their hands. They both have one ready to rock and roll. And Shinmiri, I hope you remember the old school way of Gwent where muzzle was a thing. The muzzle meta.
Yes.
Either everyone runs it or nobody runs it. There was almost like no in between. It was just a tug of war with that card. And in this case, Philippa kind of just brings back shades of that whole shenanigan back in the day. But we're going to get rid of Bloody Good Fun. We're going to pick up Gord as ForeverYOLO. That's another big card to see happen. TailBot does have the Horson Jr. That's a big card. That's a good way to deal with
Cleaver as the final draw. That is huge. And with the Philippa, I think the most valuable Philippa target in this mirror is by far Cleaver, because he is not only an engine with the Intimidate, a very good Intimidate engine at that one, but he's also a spender, and he is also a Crown Splitter, so he's got like the triple whammy. Kind of expect these guys to trade Philippas on Cleaver, but you also want to play your Cleaver at a point where you have enough coins to yoink him back should he get yoinked by your opponent.
I believe Cleaver has just recently gone into that support group occupied by Fion and all the other 1 strength units that go really tall, that all come together and just commiserate about the existence of Morkvarg.
Yes, exactly.
They all just have a support group. But here comes Cleaver. He's going to drop in. There's going to be a shakedown happening. And he's going to get a little bit stronger there. Still not terribly dangerous. And that is dangerously into Philippa range, as ForeverYOLO has to evaluate, is this worth the steal if it only gets stolen back? But ultimately, I mean, what other options do you have to kill it, frankly? Do you really want to maybe bloody good fun it and just get rid of it altogether?
You could bloody good fun it. That's true. That is the other option.
And then if you bloody good fun the Cleaver, you can then follow up later with your own Cleaver, pocketed nicely around that Safecracker, meaning that should your opponent decide to go ahead with the Philippa to steal, you can just re-steal it right back. The difference, however, is that your Cleaver is going to be nestled next to that Safecracker, so it's going to come in as a 6 strength unit. So you're going to have to spend everything to make that work.
Yeah, it's going to cost TailBot an extra coin, potentially, to steal. The other big thing about the mirror is who commits their Tunnel Drill first. Tunnel Drill is the best spender, for sure. It also can be comboed with Kurt for extra bounty, so that it can harvest a lot more coins or spend a lot more coins on the turn that it's played. As soon as it's played, it's likely to get killed. So whoever plays the Tunnel Drill first is going to get Tunnel Drilled right back and lose that Tunnel Drill in the process, right? So you want to, it's a game of chicken. You want to hold your Tunnel Drill for kind of as long as possible. Speaking of a game of chicken, here we go with your prediction. TailBot with the 1-of copy of Poison here, kind of testing the waters. See if YOLO is willing to commit Kurt for Purify.
Now, is picking up a gourd a bigger deal than completing the poison package here? I'm really wondering, because that might be what TailBot still has floating around in his deck in terms of a target for that Owneromancy that isn't the second Fist Tech. There is still a gourd. Trying to figure out what else he might be looking to pick up.
There's a gourd, there's a Tavern Brawl, and possibly a Sea Jackal, but I don't think he's really going to need the Sea Jackal. And he does! I think TailBot is very happy about this, right? Because he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't really want to spend Owneromancy for that poison. There are potentially better targets. So the Safecracker might survive for now.
It was a win-win situation, I think, for TailBot, because either the Kurt comes out and purifies it, and he could use his Owneromancy for something like Gourd, or it doesn't occur, and TailBot can evaluate whether he wants to complete the poison, or just let it sit there and put his opponent on not having Kurt, let's say. But the difference there was that ForeverYOLO, I believe, he had to use Owneromancy to go get that Kurt, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
YOLO, on the other hand, has drawn every gold, so he doesn't really need his Owneromancy for a different gold at this point.
TailBot is kind of evaluating how he wants to proceed here. I think that he might actually be maybe looking to use the Horson Jr. maybe to kill Cleaver.
Horson Jr. to kill Cleaver. Horson Jr. also could kill the Safecracker right now, but instead TailBot is just going to play his own Kurt, bounty up YOLO's Kurt. This is what I was going to say. With YOLO's Kurt gone, there is nothing left for TailBot to purify, and actually a pretty good body for 6 coins off of a bounty. Now he's kind of extended the reach of his Tunnel Drill whenever he wants to play it.
Just think about it. Those 6 coins that Tunnel Drill is going to pick up off of that bounty could potentially represent 9 extra points of damage.
Exactly.
That's an immense turn of events here. That drill can actually come through and be just absolutely disgusting.
Like, if you think about it, TailBot's Kurt just played for 15. Right?
Yeah.
It just played for 15. That's insane. I want to note that the Flying Redanian on TailBot's side landed in the front row. That's kind of unlucky for him, because there could eventually be a full Crown Splitter pocket there had that not landed in the front row, because we could see Philippa on Cleaver and then spending on Cleaver.
Now, I'm curious, is there a reason why ForeverYOLO would have put the Cleaver to the left of the Safecracker here, rather than in between to boost it with the additional, with subsequent crimes?
Oh, yes, there's a very good reason, because, look, if he had put it in the middle, it would have been a 7. TailBot currently has more coins in he has more access to coins than YOLO. YOLO only has access to total 6 coins. So if he had boosted it to a 7, he wouldn't have been able to Philippa him back. Now he has to use his entire leader, get to 6 coins, and steal that cleaver back. So looking ahead here, great choice by YOLO to not fully take advantage of that pocket.
That boat is really just sticking out like a sore thumb now, because even with the steal on the cleaver potentially, taking that back, if Philippa comes down and just brings, redeems the cleaver back to the light side of the force, which is what we're seeing happen here, that boat is still breaking up that pocket of those 2 muscles, which is not what you want to see if you are a tunnel drill. And it's I don't think that there's really any other ways to generate any more crown splitters, unless TailBot wants to maybe go in with, perhaps TailBot is going to go ahead with the Oneiromancy into Gourd, create a pocket, and then drop the drill as a last play.
All right, TailBot utilizing the Horse and Senior to kill the cleaver now. I want to also, people might be wondering why the Philippa was played in that position to block the pocket again. It's because YOLO wants to play around Tavern Brawl, doesn't want the Tavern Brawl to be able to kill the cleaver, but instead TailBot has a different answer, the Horse and Junior here, showing how flexible he is, being able to kill up to like a 9, effectively 9 strength unit with the 6 damage and the 3-point fee. Both cleavers have been answered successfully. This game is very close right now.
Yeah, it's
YOLO down a card.
Down a card, up a point though. But unfortunately, it's looming large.
Yeah, but YOLO also has more coins in the bank. He has 9 coins, whereas TailBot only has potentially 2.
He does have 9 coins in the bank. He also has a nice crown slipper pocket for that drill, should the drill eventually make that appearance and go crazy here. There's
and
no
TailBot
other
doesn't
way.
have that. Yeah, wow. That's actually huge.
TailBot might need to go ahead and fish for a Tavern Brawl here to clean up that pocket, to sort of maybe just get rid of that extra bonus that the tunnel drill will represent. And ultimately, if you think about it, I mean, okay, he's all right. Well, that's one way to do it. I guess the Tavern Brawl is off the menu. I don't think that that's what he's looking for. If he was going to Tavern Brawl, he wouldn't have put the damage onto that. There comes the drill, and the pocket is secure. I think ForeverYOLO is just going to take it while it exists before that potentially gets disrupted again.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. That was TailBot's opportunity to remove that pocket. You see how this? Do you see how this flying Redanian is now blocking the pocket? If it had gone back row, this wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah, that's an ugly way for that boat to sort of show up and ruin the party. It's just not nice. But we're gonna drop in with perhaps the drill here. The drill can go ahead and do some work in the back row. Yeah,
it can still do 2 damage for 2.
It can do 2 for 2 against that Kurt in the back row. Pick up some more coins and then clean up the drill. Yeah.
It's better than nothing. It's better than nothing, but it could have been a lot better.
But man,
and this is a nail biter.
The difference here is the fact that killing that drill and killing Kurt were 3 clicks instead of 2, and you really, it's so small. It seems so insignificant, but ultimately it really did have a lot of repercussions in terms of what this is, because TailBot could have had, he comes through with a 1-point lead, but that could have easily been a 6 to 8 point lead, no problem.
It was 6 points of difference because it took him 2 more clicks. And those 2 clicks would represent 6 points of damage if he had the pocket. So it's 6, basically 6 points missed because of the lack of the crown splitter pocket. Here we go, shakedown. Both players just trading crimes here, shakedown and dip in the Pontar, building their bank back up. TailBot's got last say, so he's going to be able to heat wave this gourd. They're going to trade with each other. Jacques has 12. Jacques plays for 12, and there's 5 coins left.
Now, Jacques' going to be a big deal because that's the last spender that's possible. You're going to go ahead and hit the tribute to drop 2 more bodies on the board, spend all your bank, and then you're ultimately left with a gourd here. You have an 18-point lead. TailBot does have a play of his own here in terms of coins that can be spent, as well as an Owneromancy that can get his own gourd, as well
Oh
as
my
a final
God.
say with the Heat Wave. This is closer than it looks
This
like.
is so close. This is so
I don't even want to do the math.
close.
That's not for us to do, Shinmiri. We are from North America.
I can't help myself. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Oh
Shinmiri,
God.
just say it. He can't lose. Just say he can't lose. Don't
He
specify
can't
who.
lose.
There
He
it is.
actually can't lose here.
We will not specify who we're referring to, but he can't lose. He
If
just
I-
can't lose.
Oh no. Oh no. What is this? Is he going for Tavern Brawl here? No, he's
we're
going for
going for Gourd.
Gourd.
Safer points, I think. There wasn't really
But he gives up okay. Oh,
Pocket.
oh.
There is
Oh,
a
the
pocket.
Crown Splitter Pocket! That is a great play by TailBot. And gets to save the Heat Wave for the Gourd. TailBot cannot lose! He is moving on to the finals with that play. 3-2, 4-point difference. Well played by both players.